I need something else to cool off. Elden Ring. Elden Ring! Despite the amount of deaths you just saw in that little segment, I really enjoyed this game. This game was just an amazing experience, which I wanted to share with people on the interwebs, even though a lot of people have already talked about it so far, and I'm just a random as hell guy with probably no views at all who is spending time on making this video. Why do I do this to myself? I myself have only played 2 Souls-like games before I booted up Elden Ring. Wait, some of you don't know what a Souls-like is? Well, allow me to explain. According to Wikipedia, a Souls-like or Souls-like is a subgenre of action role-playing games or action-adventure games known for high levels of difficulty and emphasis on environmental storytelling, typically in a dark fantasy setting. This genre started out with Demon Souls, which then expanded into the more well-known Dark Souls. Basically, to summarize it, hard game makes you go rage quit at some point. The 2 Souls-like games I played before were Code Vein and Hollow Knight. While Hollow Knight might not be your typical Souls-like game in gameplay, it still basically is one due to the difficulty and way of storytelling. Code Vein on the other hand felt more like a typical Souls-like game, with the gameplay and environment being more like Dark Souls. Storytelling, however, is a bit more direct. This is due to the amount of cutscenes and explaining they have to do for you to understand the plot. Both games were a challenge for me in some way, but eventually I could get through them with ease after understanding the mechanics. This is why I thought Elden Ring might just be like that, to where I can just explore the lands and challenge myself in some hard but fun to learn boss fights. Boy was I wrong! But more on that later. First I want to talk about the story. The Wikipedia page also mentions the following. Souls-like games are commonly defined by their dark fantasy setting and lack of overt storytelling, as well as their deep world-building and captivating world being cited as key to spark players' desire to explore. This means that you get to hear very little of the story itself, but you can find out most of the stuff by talking to people, interpreting things yourself, or go binge some YouTube lore videos and stalk the fandom pages because you don't understand crap. The game starts off with a cinematic that explains the basis of the game. In this world called The Lands Between, this thing called the Elden Ring got shattered. The queen who ruled disappeared. All the demigods got a shard of this ring, which made them like stronger and cooler and stuff. This made them all go mad and fight each other. Now the guy who is telling the story starts moaning about something called the Tarnished, and then he mentions a bunch of these Tarnished until he comes to you and says that you need to stand before the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord. Do you understand what all of that means? Yeah, me neither at first. But if you start actually paying attention to what the NPCs tell you and how the world interacts with you, it kinda becomes clear that Tarnished are weak, world little bit of screwed, and demigods want power of their own. This is why the side quests in this game are important to play if you want to figure out the lore behind it. Like I said, if you have a day off and feel like reading more pages than the Bible and its sequel, then you might be interested in going into the fandom pages and read more about it. Now let's talk about gameplay. The controls for this game were kinda new to me. Usually when I play with an Xbox controller on my PC, I need to attack with X and Y and dodge with either B or the right trigger / bumper. This game is a bit different. You have 2 hands in this game to hold weapons. You can use each weapon using the bumper on the same side as each hand. Let's say you have a shield in your left hand and a sword in your right hand. Then the bumper on the right becomes attacking with your sword and the left bumper becomes blocking with your shield. With dual wielding, you can start attacking with both bumpers. And if you use 2-handed weapons, right trigger becomes attacking and left trigger becomes blocking. Also, you press B to roll and you can use the D-pad to use different kinds of items like your flask to give your health back after a hard fight. For someone who played Dark Souls before, these controls might be still similar. But for someone like me who never even touched one of those games, it was getting some used to. Luckily, after about 5 minutes of gameplay, it already felt natural to play this way, and my muscle memory for other games got kinda screwed. In a lot of open world games, it always feels like the game is hand-holding you. It's constantly trying to tell you where to go and where you can find the next collectible. Despite the fact that they are called open world games, they still feel like they're holding you on a leash so you won't run off on your own. They just don't give you the freedom of exploration you want from an open world game. A lot of people on YouTube have already talked about this, but with Elden Ring, yeah, that's not the case. You have the tutorial section where it just pops up the controls on your screen, but after that, the game just says, yeah, screw you, go figure it out on your own, and just lets you loose in the open world. The whole exploration part is out there, and the game even encourages you for exploring certain parts. A lot of areas might be a bit too high level if you just started playing the game, but you can still run away from enemies there as long as you don't trap yourself in some kind of dungeon. In Elden Ring, when they say, go figure it out on your own, they really mean it. The only sense of direction this game gives you is a small line from every side of Grace telling you where you might want to go next. Not even all of those point you towards the main story. Most of them just tell you where the biggest point of interest in that area is, so you kinda know where you want to explore. Like I said, Elden Ring just has a world that encourages you to really explore it. It rewards you every time you figure something out without popping thousands of markers on your screen trying to distract you or try to let you catch the next pigeon or something. Instead, I get distracted by every interesting enemy I see on this incredible map, and before you know it, I'm trying to get into Raya Lucaria Academy and end up in Volcano Manor for some reason. Can I sneak up? Oh no I can't, no I can't, no I can't, no I can't, no I can't. Remember when I said that Code Vein and Hollow Knight were hard at first but became easier once I got used to the mechanics? Yeah, this game doesn't do that. In fact, one of the most enjoyable parts about this game is that the world is constantly trying to kill you. Keep in mind that you cannot fully pause this game, so if you need to go away for a quick break, make sure you're in a safe spot or else you lose all your runes. The fact that the world is trying to kill you every 5 seconds can be a bad thing for people who want to take breaks every so often. But in my experience, I was always on edge to see what might happen next, which kept me constantly invested in what comes next. How about using a bow this time? Arrows. Oh! I just think all these points of a free open world with a dangerous environment make for a better gameplay experience rather than this western open world formula with all the quest markers and flashy icons on your screen. Speaking of this western open world formula and its flashy icons, even the side quests don't have those. Most of the side quests in this game are told via dialogue with the NPCs, but the thing is that you actually need to listen to what they tell you to understand where to go next. Sometimes you don't even hear where you're supposed to go. Instead, you need to read the lore on the items they give you. Sometimes, like with the Alexander questline, you just get a fake description of where you're supposed to go next, which will leave you completely confused. But once you get near the destination you're supposed to go, you may remember what the NPC told you earlier, and you know that you have something to do there. I also want to point out that this game does not keep track of the side quests you're doing at all. I had to write quests down in the early parts of the game since I couldn't really complete any of them. Or I could, but I just didn't know that I could just skip the entirety of Stonefield Castle, including the Godric fight. This might just sound like a bad thing for a game, but going back to the topic of an open world game just feels right. It keeps you engaged in the stories and makes you connect with the characters for figuring things out. Every time you complete a quest, it gives you this actual feeling of accomplishment, even if it didn't reward you anything valuable. The best part about these quests is that some overlap with their own stories. I'm gonna talk about 3 quests real quick. These quests are Diallos, Jarbairn, and Warrior Jar Alexander. These quests do not spoil the game and the overall plot, but I will spoil the side quests, so if you don't like that, skip to the timestamp shown on the screen. These quests might take a little bit to explain, but here we go. Once you get to the round table hall, there's this guy called Diallos who lost his companion called Lanya, who you need to find. Does he give you a hint of where to find her? No, but she's out there, and when you find her, Diallos is crying since Lanya is kind of enlivened. Next, drop down next to this little old tower over here, and you find a small town called Jarburg with this guy called Jarbairn telling you that he needs to find a potentate. But you can't be one since your hands aren't soft enough. Now, if you went to explore the beginning area a lot, you might have found this big boy Jar who introduces himself as Alexander. He is the main focus point of this quest. Knock Alexander out of the hole he's stuck in, find him in this tunnel in the Horse of Caelid, attend the Redan Festival with him, find him stuck in the hole again and craft some oil to get his damaged body out of it, find him mending himself at this volcano after you feed this little magma worm, fight the fire giant with him, and pay one stone sword key in Environment Zulum to meet him where he wants a noble fight with you to either die a noble death or prove he is the best by sticking you inside of him. Obviously you want to finish this game, so you need to kill him, which is a sad day for everyone. RIP Alexander, you will be missed. Now go back to Jarberg where Jarban says Alexander is his uncle and he wants to be a warrior just like him. Reset and you see that Dielos is the potentate for this town now. Talk to Jarban a few times and he says that he needs a potentate to protect the jars from smashers. Reset again and see that the entire town except for Jarban is dead. Reset again and give Jarban Alexander's innards. This motivates him to go out and become a warrior jar on his own. The thing with these quests is they're all minor quests that can be easily missed if you don't really pay attention to them. But if you follow them and talk to the jars for a bit, you create a connection with them. Killing Alexander was one of the hardest things to do, since he was such a nice guy.
And then, one day, we'll be a single great champion. The greatest of them all. What do you think, eh? How do you rate my chances?
What I'm saying is that there are more examples out there in this game where quests overlap each other and have an impact on different NPCs. I don't see the games I play that much doing this kind of thing, so it's nice to happen for a change. Holy crap, this is definitely my favorite part of the game. Aside from the whole dying over and over and over again to one single boss for days in a row, the fights actually feel awesome. These kind of games have this very specific form of combat where you can't keep mashing the same buttons over and over again and hope you hit something. You actually need to think when and where to dodge. Sometimes dodging isn't even the right option, and you might need to run away instead. Other times, it might be better to attack back to interrupt an attack. Once you figure out what to do when what animation plays, the game tricks you by throwing in new attacks with each boss. Most bosses in this game have this thing called a second phase. This is usually the boss just getting stronger while still having the same moveset. Other times, the boss can just get more kinds of attacks based on how much health you've depleted from them. And sometimes, you have a boss like Macleod, whose second phase is nothing like his first phase. What the hell is this At certain moments, you kinda get into the flow of dodging and attacking a boss at the most perfect times, which makes it feel like you're doing a dance with the boss. One of my most memorable experiences with this form of dancing was with, people claim to be the hardest boss in the game, Malenia. I wanted to try this boss as much as I can without using spirit summons, which led this fight being the most satisfying thing to do in this game in my opinion. In all honesty, this game has inspired me to play more of the Souls games in the future. This may have just been my favorite game of this year. And I want more of this kind of stuff. I know the other Souls games don't have the open world aspect like Elden Ring does, but that wasn't the only part I liked so much. Beating the enemies and bosses felt like such an accomplishment, and getting to the end of the game didn't leave me empty that I had nothing to play again. It just left me satisfied. It might just be one of these games where I actually replay it to get other endings instead of just looking up all the other endings on YouTube. If you're looking for a challenging game to play with an awesome open world experience, this is just the game for you. So, I don't know if anyone actually found this video or not, but I am planning on making more videos in the future since I really like making this one. If you're one of the people who like this and you're interested in more, please consider subscribing and pressing that like button so the algorithm knows how to find you. Anyways, thanks for watching until the end. I appreciate that and I'll see you later, hopefully.